What's up, guys? Welcome to the next video on PHP MVC series. Alright, so before we begin further dive deep into the PHP MVC, I'll go briefly on PHP Object Oriented Programming. So what is Object Oriented Programming? Let's begin with Object Oriented Programming, or OOP. So hang on, I don't know what's wrong with my fundamentals. Alright, so what's PHP OOP? Just like C++ or C# or Java or any other programming language, same PHP Object Oriented Programming. It's got same pattern. It starts with the classes, and the class is uppercase. So the first thing we write is PHP OOP begins with the definition of a class. Begins with definitions of a class. So you guys notice that I done this intentionally uppercase because the class always begin with uppercase. So class always begins with uppercase. Alright, so let me make it a little bit smaller so we can fit all, but not that small so you guys can see. Alright, so we go on 22. I hope 22 is okay. It's giving me error on uppercase. Alright, so as example, what's the example? Object oriented begins with the definition of a class, and a class always begin with uppercase. And what is class? Class is a template for a particular type of data. Class is a template for a particular type of data. So that's the definition of class. So for example, as you guys can see, that because we're dealing with the object-oriented programming, and object-oriented programming, as you guys know, that revolves around real-world objects such as human, our car, our employee, our user, anything, just a real-world object. So as a user is an object. You can say a user inside a website. We can do class user, our class human, our class car, our vehicle, our anything. So a class definition contains both variable and functions. So a class definition contains both variable and functions. The reason I'm writing, you guys, if you guys notice that I want to clear something before I move ahead with another one. I don't want to go and tell you guys in 15 minutes the entire PHP MVC or entire PHP, as MVC has got a classes, and classes got a variable and functions, and it's got an attribute or properties, and it's got a magic methods, and it's blah 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 blah. It's got a constructor, destructors, and blah 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 blah. And I'm reaching to templates, and at the end of the story, then I wrap up in 10 to 15 minutes. I'm not gonna do that. The reason is that I'm writing because we have to clear one thing. You guys need to understand one thing, then we move ahead with another fundamental or another definition of anything. So I think basically if you guys learning this object oriented in PHP, it needs to be, if you write it, it's a lot easier for us to explain, and is to remember so what I wrote and what I explained. So but I can do it in 20 minutes, the entire PHP Object Oriented Programming, that whatever, you know, if you guys want. But to be honest with you, I just want to go slowly, and I want to write slowly so we can clear one thing and before we start another one. Okay, so we were at the class. Definition contains both variable and functions. Synthetically, a variable in a class definition is called attribute of our property. So variable in class definition is called attribute. We call variables in a class is called attribute of property. Attribute or property. So a class got a functions, variables and functions, and I'm going to explain you guys shortly what is a variable and what is functions. And a variables is also called attribute or property of that class. All right, and what is the function? A function in the class definition is also called a method. So a function in a class is also called a method of that class, So sometimes you guys might hear these functions, and sometimes you guys people refer to functions as method. Okay, combine the attributes and methods are a member of a class. So if you combine this together, the attributes and methods are a member of the class. So if you combine this together, the attribute and methods of the class are the member of that class, are the members of that class. You guys remember this, because when you start this PHP OOP, Object Oriented Programming, you'll hear these attributes and methods all the time. It's like driver to the car or engine to the car. You hear these things all the time, so you guys remember this attribute and this function, our method. Okay, so what's example of this OOP? We can call a human, or you can call animal, or you can call anything, real world objects. So now we go to the car, say a car, which is more common. All right, so if we explain that the class starts with uppercase. Okay, so we put a class car. Okay, so we call class a car, the properties of the car. So what's the property of the guys? You guys all know what car is, yeah? A vehicle. It's got a make, it's got a model, what year the car built, and it's got a kilometers or odometer, yeah? So that's the properties of the car. So property can be set, yeah, and changed and retrieved. and the values of the property distinguish with the car from that car. So this cars can, the value can change. So odometer, the value can change all the time. Not with the make. With the make also, with the make we can change the value from the car to car, with the models as well. So if the Toyota Prius, our Toyota Camry, our Toyota I hope I remember all these models from the cars, because there's heaps of models. So every cars from different from this year to that year. So the Toyota makes a Camry series, and that's Camry series. It's a make is Toyota, but the model is Camry, and another one's different Camry series. So you can go like that. So forth, whatever you call it. Okay. So we explained that the car's properties can be set, changed, and retrieved, and the values of the properties distinguish this car from that car. So if you guys already know that from not all the cars the same, the cars all different. Okay, now we come towards this. We explain these attributes. Now we go to the functions and methods. A car's functions and methods. I hope you guys can see this color. I'm not sure if you guys can see the color. I'll change the color if you want. When I'm gonna change the color, so I'll make it this one. I'll make this. Okay, functions and methods of the car. All right, so functions and methods. What's the functions and methods? I thought I've got this. A car can start. The first things, function start, then sorry guys, this is as lowercase, function start, then we come function start, then the function drive and the function park. We can drive the car, we can park the car. Function park, here are the functions of the park. Okay, and after that we can turn off the car. Function turn off. Turn off. All right, as you guys notice that I wrote like this, is called camel case. Camel case. When you guys start this PHP Object Oriented Programming, and when you guys go like that, try to put the real, try to refer to the real names. Don't go to confusing names such as ABC or 1 2 3 or blah blah blah. Just try to put that. Say if you put a stars after 5 years, or someone else comes and looks at your code and see these stars, you go, that you're referring to this function start. It means start the car, and they go look at the class, and the class is car. That's why they come in here and they have a look and they say, all right, this function is for the car, and this function, the function drive is for the drive. So if anything is wrong with the code, they can change the code or they can modify the code. But if you put a function PPA, function PPA, they've got no idea. If someone comes and if you put a function SDO, all right, so you might remember for a while this is the function start, but trust me, you guys are going to forget after a while, you know, any kind of class, or someone else comes and looks at your code and says, all right, this of whatever the class is here, class user or class car, the class of car here. Let's look at the functions, and then look at the functions SSDO. I say, oh my god, what is this SSDO? And they can't look at you because for some reason you got promoted, or you left the company, or you resigned, or for some reason you're gone, and they'll be looking, they're scratching their heads. What is this bloody SSDO means? So always when you do this PHP thing, always refer to the actual names of that function. So what the functions can do. Say if they put a functions tires or anything, you know, you always put a tire, or you put a steering wheel, or you put an engine of the car, you put a piston, or whatever, you know, whatever you want to call it. So always refer to the a car this actual name. Or if you go in case of user or anything, wanted to come here with the PHP, which I'm going to start in a moment. And as we can see that how they name the naming conventions, how it works inside the PHP. So we do it right. That's how we master this design process. And we have to understand what the member function can define and how to implement this object-oriented concept. In object-oriented, a lot of concepts. We have inheritance, we have access control, overriding method, scope resolution, abstractions, and so on. So we go in the future videos, we go slowly all this inheritance, access control, overriding methods, scope resolution, and blah blah blah. And I'm going to show you one by one how we go do this. Okay, so what's the syntax of this PHP? Hang on, I think I had this class car. Okay, now that's my car here. Okay, so I'll come down right here and I'll start from here. Okay, so what's the syntax? Now you guys might be wondering, oh, my car's gone. So how we write the syntax of this PHP class. We have design, and we put our class car class. So, and just to let you guys, most of the classes are not used directly. Rather we create an instance of that class. So most classes are not used directly. We use instance of that class, and I'm going to show you guys in a moment inside PHP how we use that instance and how we go and use another class in our class. All right, so okay, the instance. What is the instance? I mentioned that instance. What is the instance? Okay, the instance is also called an object. Also called an object. So we create object. So as with the C# or Java or C++, we always use a new. So as with the Java, as you guys are familiar with Java, and C# we always use new. So our object is equal to new car. That's how we do that. In case of user, we put different, say you put a username is equal to new user. So we use a new in case of the user class. So we instantiating this car class and we creating object. That's what this instance come from. We creating object out of this new car. So we can say a name, Michael. I think I wanted up lowercase. Michael is equal to new car, because If Michael's got a new car, that's how we instantiating this object, this class new car. So now Michael's got a new car too, so because Michael's got an instance of that class. So now all the properties and functions and everything's are embedded in the Michael variable. So all the properties and function of these attributes and functions and methods, sorry, I'll start again. Everything that parts of that car's definition, every property, we said variable or method, as we call it, function, is now embedded in Michael. So Michael got all the variable and methods. Michael now has all variables and methods of class car. So whatever we define in class car, it has everything inside now, because we instantiate the class car, we assign it to the Michael. So now Michael's got all the attributes and all the functions or methods of that class car, which we call it car. Okay, so behind the scene, the car definition as constructor is created behind the scene. It creates the constructor. A constructor, sorry, it's okay, that's how it is. A PHP constructor, you can put it public functions constructor. Behind the scene, a constructor, a special method. The constructor's got a special method. I'm going to explain it now shortly. In a special method, it's called a construction. It's invoked, automatically invoked, when the object of that type is generated. The constructor normally provides whatever initial setup would be required by the sub-agent subsequent usage of that object. So say if what if the constructor or object takes argument. Say for example, if like a function can take argument when the object is created. So say Michael is equal to new car. Yeah, so Michael's got a new car and the car's got a Toyota, and Toyota Camry says the model is 2015, say for example. All right, so now this class car takes 3 arguments, this one's. So once you have an object, you reference its properties or variables and call its methods, functions, using the syntax object name to member name. So we put a object name to member name. Member name. Okay, so you put a Michael. The color of the Michael, the color is equal to say blue. Okay, say Michael, the car star. Now we invoke this we start this Michael star. So Michael, the color is blue, we assign this string to this color, and now we call this start function of this class car. So the car here, start. Okay, say make, model, odometer, or color. We forgot the color. Okay, so now we assign this blue to this color, the Michael's car's color. So this one, as we explained, this assign this blue to this color of the class car, and the second one is calling this function stars. So as you guys notice that we also including this parenthesis here, so it means you need to this parenthesis. Say if you want a argument for this class start, you can put your arguments here. Okay, so you put an argument here, and you call this function start, and you put your arguments there. You say the arguments, for example, the arguments is starts straight away, or start start straight away. I'll put another example, start now, or start forward. Okay, now we go towards this, we look at the example of this PHP E. Got a user class user, as I explained before, is extends E base object, is extending this base object, and this is the variables ID, username, password, auth key, access token, because for the class user you need a username for the user ID first to begin with, then you know your username, password, and authorization key, and access tokens, because this too is for security reasons, and this too, as you guys can see in every application names, you go in Facebook or Twitter, or you set your username, and they require you to put a password, so you need these things for the user. Now these things are the functions or methods. The function, public static function, as you guys can see inside the PHP, is find identity, and the argument is ID. If you want to find the identity of the user, you need an ID of that user. Okay, there is another function, static function, is find identity by access token, as token's type is equal to null. So because it means there is a token but the type is null at the moment. Okay, and find by username, it's got a username, and we get a get ID function, get auth key, validate auth key, and validate password. All right, so we go to this base object. You look at the base objects, or if you look at the form, it's extending this login form, extending this model. If you look at here, model inside this E, model is extending this component. So just a quick have a look inside this. Let's go to scenario, from name, attributes, attribute labels, attribute clients. Okay, so we got this. Wait 1 second. We got this component, and if you look at the side, the component is extending the same base object. If you guys look at the user, it's got a base object as well. So the user is extending from base objects, and this component is also extending this base objects. As I mentioned to you guys before, you don't need, sometimes there is a class there, but you use it indirectly. You don't have to use it directly. Okay, so this base objects, okay, the base objects here, so with the user and login form, they're both extending from. Okay, it's inside the base object, it's got a namespace E base. Okay, so now we go here, base objects. What's inside the base objects? As I mentioned to you guys before, it has a constructor. That's public function construction. Config is equal to null, is equal to nothing. Okay, then this constructor got this initialization, which what it says that if this configuration is not empty, this ye configure this configuration, this is a member of, is referring to the member of this class. So this init initialize, it means that initialize this constructor. Okay, now it's got a function init initialize the object. Is, as you guys can see here, that's the definition here already. This method is invoked at the end of the constructor after the object initialized with the given configuration. All right, so if we go down, this has got a PHP magic method. So it's got a public function get. You guys can see that's the definition of this function. Returns the value of an object property. Okay, do not call this method directly, as this is a PHP magic method that will be implicitly called when executing value is equal to object property. When you guys if you guys know, when you create your object first inside your application engine, you call these methods, and you, after this one, you don't call these methods again. So because this ye stands on user and everything extending from this base object, that's what it has, all these magic methods. Okay, so we've got a get, and that's set, and the set sets the value of the object property. It's got a name and value. So we had a getter or setter in Java. If you guys know, the Java is a getter and setter. Inside here is get and set. That's getting the name, returning the value of the object property, which is name, and name sets the value of the object property, which is a name and a value. All right, and this one is set. If you guys know this PHP, it's got a magic method is set, and checks if the property is set, defined or not null. Okay, checks if the property is set, and we go here is unset. If you guys look at the definition here, sets an object property to null. So the unset sets the object property to null. Okay, so it's got a has property, returns a value indicating whether property is defined. Okay, can get a property, returns a value indicating whether a property can be read. Okay, can get property, can set properties, returns a value indicating whether property can be set, and it has a method, returns a value indicating whether method is defined. So this is a PHP object oriented programming. That's the definition, and I hope you guys like it. Thanks for watching, and next one we go and have a look at the pattern of the PHP MVC. All right, till next time, see you, bye.